Trista Polo, Polo. How do you say it properly?
Polo, just like the game or the shirt.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So, Trista, we start off the show with a simple question. Every show gets the same question of the week. Do you believe in ghosts?
I'm open. I actually had a guest on my podcast who does Oddity Files on Amazon.
Oh.
And there's some pretty interesting stuff going on that show that makes me question and wonder.
Fair enough. It's just an icebreaker. That's all it's about. So you're an actor, you're an improv person, right? I think that's what you said before.
Mm-hmm.
You're an entrepreneur, you're a coach, you're
podcast host.
So how does that make you feel? Do you like it all?
I love it.
Really?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I love it. I worked in corporate for a really long time. And I'm not going to call anybody out, but I just sort of always ended up in a situation where I had to like choose my paycheck or my integrity when I worked for somebody else. Yeah. And I get to do things my way, work with the people I want to work with, take on projects, not take on others. And so my clients are friends. They become friends because I just love helping them so much. I'm doing this podcast. I'm having a blast. That's awesome. I'm just having a really great time. I almost feel guilty saying that sometimes because I know there are so many people who can't figure out a way to really enjoy and embrace the joy of life. But I've been working really hard at that for a while.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of us get stuck in our own heads where we think we can't do something. Now, you said you're at 21 episodes on your podcast before the show, everybody who does watch this, but you're at 21 episodes. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the feeling when you first started? That feeling you probably had of, maybe not this podcast, since you said this is number 4, but that feeling of I'm not good enough, that feeling of dread. And I know that you may not have had that, but a lot of people do.
I absolutely had it.
How did you get past it?
It's so funny that you're asking me this because I know that when we sort of talked about having me on, it's just a free-flowing chat kind of conversation model, which I love. But a lot of times when I'm on to talk about something specific, this is the topic. Like, how have I been able to go from the belief that I was just a complete pile of garbage, worthless, that imposter syndrome? I feel like a cliche having it have that label, but I really did walk around pretending to be this amazing person. And actually, I believed that if you found out who I really was, you would drop me so fast. So when I started the first podcast, I was not willing to do it alone. It was a podcast I had been looking for somebody to do a podcast with forever because I didn't want to do it by myself. I certainly wasn't good enough to interview. And I found somebody and we did it together. And it was a lot of fun, but it was nerve-wracking because I felt like she was the expert and I was the noob in the things that we were talking about. So I always ended up sort of showing up like the student on the podcast. And I was the co-host, but I was also the student. And so that definitely, it was nerve-wracking for sure. It's so funny that you asked me that because I haven't thought about that part of the podcasting mindset in a long time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, as we expand ourselves, as we get rid of the crap from our past, because let's face it, that's what creates that attitude that I'm not good enough. For people who have listened to the show, they know my story already. Welfare, blah, 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 and grew up poor. And frankly, I'm not a made man or anything, but I'm okay. I've risen above my statistics. When people have that stuff in their background that they just can't let go, it's sad. It saddens me to the point because I can feel it right along with them.
Yeah.
And if I can get out of it, almost anybody can get out of it from the situation. As an actor, you told me before the show about one of the jobs you had, and you know which one I'm talking about. Can you tell us about that job?
Yeah. So I will first start by saying that improv really helped me with my state of mind as far as believing that I have worth and something to offer, because you don't have time to worry about anything when you're doing improv. You got to just be fearless about going up there and owning whatever pops in your head and bringing all the love you can to the people that you're doing the improv with. And so I started with improv, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to figure out a way to do some more acting? And a friend of mine that I was doing improv with, she's done standardized patient work forever. And most people who are not in the medical industry know standardized patient work from the Seinfeld episode, where Kramer and his friend are fighting over who gets the better disease. And, they get to pretend to have this disease. I'll tell you, it was a really rewarding thing. It was a lot of fun. I'm not doing it right now, but it was a really rewarding thing. So what you do is you work for a medical college, and you learn about all the symptoms and the answers to the questions for whatever the ailment is. And it could be, your knee hurts, it could be depression, or it could be that you're dying. I mean, you just don't even know which week until you get the scripts and prep for it. And so you get to like mold these future doctors with their bedside manner. And I remember there was one, we had to get bad news. So they're learning how to give bad news, And so we found out what our problem was, and we were instructed what emotions to go through. And the thing is, we were instructed that the student doctor had to get us through those emotions with their bedside manner and how they'd been trained to do that. And if they didn't, you weren't supposed to throw chairs or anything, but you were also not supposed to give them a break and, get yourself to a comforted level. And there was one guy, he was just so cold. He was like cold as ice. And so I got more and more agitated and a little more and more belligerent as the time went through, because he was almost treating me like it was my fault I was sick. He was definitely judging the case. Then on the total opposite spectrum, I had another student doctor. I want this guy to give me every bad news I ever need to get for the rest of my life. I found out later he was a rabbi, a rabbinical student before he went to medical school. I'm like, oh, now I get it. But, he was really nervous to give me the diagnosis. But as soon as he got that out of the way, he became the most loving and compassionate person. I'm like, I want this guy to deliver every bad news I ever have to get the rest of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, what you just talked about speaks to what we were talking about before, getting past the bad news and becoming a loving human being.
For sure.
Everything's strangely connected.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird. Improv also teaches us the yes set, right? I'm a stage hypnotist. That's my real job, is I do hypnosis across Western Canada. And I plug myself every show. Hi, 2 people. We have 2 watchers.
Awesome. Hello.
Oh, if you have comments, by the way, and you're on StreamYard, hit the comments or whatever, and I'll ask the question. Yeah,
great.
This is weird. StreamYard is freaking awesome, if you didn't know. So we're talking about improv. Gone.
Yes, set.
How do you use that in your daily life to get past certain things, or have you used it as a technique in your personal life, even when you're not feeling necessarily good about yourself, to get past stuff?
I'll tell you, if you are an entrepreneur, you need to go to improv school, because there are so many ways that learning how to do improv makes you better at self-generating your business. That's what an entrepreneur is. It's somebody who self-generates everything, the clients, the business, the marketing. Like, you are the thing if you're an entrepreneur. And so there's some really wonderful principles that I bring in and use every single day, like fearless action, like going with my gut, the yes, and, being able to say yes and then figure it out. There's a saying, if you're an improv, if you trip, just figure out a way to work it in the scene as you're falling. Yeah. Just being able to go with that flow and weave and bob, being an entrepreneur, you have a lot of things that come at you, and most of it is not expected. You can't really anticipate a lot of it. So that yes and all of it has really helped me be a better entrepreneur. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So what's your actual business? So we can give it a plug here.
Yeah, sure. So my business is I'm a coach for business owners, entrepreneurs, network marketers. And the website is iwokeupawesome.com.
Oh.
I believe everybody woke up exactly as they are, already awesome. Hair messed up, whatever clothes you're in, whatever your face looks like, morning hair, I think you're awesome anyway. And that's something that if we could all embrace our own awesomeness, that the rest will come. And I can't believe that you're awesome until I believe it in myself, because everything I see in you is a reflection of me. So it also not just helps me with me, but it helps me with how I am with others as well. And so it's a lot about mindset and fearless action, communication, team development.
That makes sense. Fearless action. You talk about fearless action. So if a person's just starting out and let's say they were like me and believe they didn't come from anything and that the world is against them and that there's a mosquito in my house and that the world is basically trying to hold them down, what's the fearless action that they need to take?
Well, I'll tell you, any action that takes you outside your comfort zone, because you can take action and be really afraid, but the fear comes from the unknown, right? Actually, confidence, how they say, you need to build confidence. Confidence really only comes from proof that it worked.
Yep.
Everything before the proof is taking action. And sometimes it's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. That's what I really mean about this.
You
That's
saw
amazing.
that, eh?
We'll talk about your mosquitoes and we can talk about my snakes. I have snakes in my yard. Yeah.
Like little garter snakes or what do you have?
No, huge rat snakes. Do you know what a rat snake is?
I do. I do. Yeah.
They're a huge gift because we have really bad ticks in this area.
Yeah.
In fact, when we moved to this house, my dog got Lyme's disease and she, lost the use of her back legs. And we had to put her on really bad antibiotics and stuff. Like they're really, really bad here. So I'm very grateful for the snakes because they eat the little animals that bring the ticks, that bring the Lyme's disease. Yes. So we have a pair of snakes. They're hanging out right on the other side of this wall.
That you put there or that you put there or that they came in?
No, they came in. So we have this deck that is sort of shallow or hollow.
Okay.
It has a big holder of water in there. So wherever the big container isn't, there's, lots of good, yummy spots for animals, I guess. And a few years ago,
this is the quality interview I do, by the way.
Right? I mean, why not? You said free flowing, so I'm flowing freely. There's been a snake living there the last 2 years, and this year we have 2.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're sunning
themselves. You could end up with like 400 eventually.
I know. Then I might not be quite as grateful.
Yeah.
But you were asking,
like weird.
Yeah, you were asking me about how to transform through the fearless action. So did I fully expound on that before we got distracted by Nate?
Yeah, by my children letting bugs in my house. But the taking action is what a lot of people have the fear of, right? And the fear of rejection. There's a great video out there where a guy says he's going to ask people for things until he gets 100 no's. And he eventually gets 100 no's, but it takes him like 300 days to get 100 no's.
He wrote a book.
And it's crazy. Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of people are afraid to ask. One of my mentors, Dean Hankey. Yeah, Dean, I'm going to give you a plug. But he basically says, just ask. And if somebody says no, good. Move on to the next person. Move on to the next person. Serve them. Serve whoever you're asking the question, whether they give it to you or not in some way. And then just move on to the next person. And that's specifically for sponsorship, right? Give them something first before you expect anything. And when you are helping entrepreneurs, helping business people. What's the first step for your process in helping them either get more business or grow as they call it heart-based business now, but for me, it's not heart-based; it's soul-based. What's your steps to help them grow?
Well, I really start
in
with
any way they want.
Yeah. Well, my motto is that I help people win, whatever winning looks like to them. And so I really start with what they want, who they want to be. Now, they already are that. The blocks are what make them think they aren't that yet and have to do all this work to get there. So a lot of what we do is really unpacking how they show up. So it's less really, when I work with people, it's less about what they are doing and more about who they're being. Because I can send you to courses and camps and all kinds of things, but until you really get responsible for your mindset, like we've been talking about, there's a lot that'll be missed. You can write the perfect goal statement, but if you don't believe you deserve to get any of the stuff in the goal statement, you'll probably just sabotage your way right to failure. And so that
makes sense.
Yeah, it's that mindset piece. I actually have a phrase that I love that I can share. It made a huge difference for me. Now, nothing works once. Things only work when you put them into existence. Well, let me ask you, would you say that's true for hypnotism? Like, to be hypnotized, don't you have to do it a few times, or can you get somebody to lose 100 pounds and quit smoking in one session?
I'd say it depends on the person. Now, the 100 pounds, no, you're not going to lose it all in one session. Obviously, it's going to take time to lose that weight. Did I lose you?
I'm here.
Okay. I froze up. I do apologize. Sometimes it does that.
No worries.
A person's not going to lose 100 pounds in one session. But there have been cases where a person does quit smoking in that one session.
Okay.
But it's because they chose to. It's not because the hypnosis... People think, oh, hypnosis is going to help me do this, blah, blah. It's just like anything else. If they have chosen to make the change, no matter what happens, they're going to make that change. But it's the choice to make the change. And a lot of people don't actually make the choice. They just bullshit themselves and never actually make the decision and say, this is what's happening in my life.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. I was just going to say, so that's really important to keep things in existence over time, because I can declare anything right now. I can tell you anything right now and really, really, really mean it. But if tomorrow I'm too tired, too sad, too overwhelmed, too stressed out, whatever, that's just my mind taking me out. And I won't ever get what I want. So this phrase, I was going to share this phrase with you. So this phrase I used, I've done work with improv. I've done courses to really get my head around that I'm not my past, that I'm not worth what my past said I was worth, that I'm actually a powerful creator who has a huge amount to give to the world. This phrase really helped me shift that final paradigm that no course had ever quite gotten me to shift the mindset. I had a lot of tools, but I had to get it in here. So the phrase is, I believe I deserve all the best life has to offer. And I was created with the ability to achieve it. And the thing about that phrase is it really gets to the heart of your worth. Like, do you believe you actually deserve to win, to succeed, to have everything you say you want? So in my process, we spend time really working on mindset from that space, like who you're being, what you think you deserve, your worth. And then all that other stuff we can put in, how to write a good goal statement, a business plan, what your why is, all that stuff. But you got to feel like you deserve it or you'll never have.
That's absolutely true. Even at the start of this show. So this show started on April 12th was my first episode. And I expected to fail completely, 100%. And then I showed my wife some of the numbers. And she said, so what? What's that get you? Is it making any money? And of course, 2 weeks in, no, I wasn't making any money. And she said, well, when you make some money, let me know. So I said, well, now you've challenged me. And believe me, I can do anything, literally anything. So it sounds dumb. Do you know who Biff Naked is?
No.
She is literally a pretty huge Canadian rock star from
Okay.
95 to like 2005.
Cool.
And I have her on my show next week
Nice.
because I reached out to people, and that's it. And I've had some pretty big celebrities on the show, actually, and I'm going to have more because I said, F it, and I believed in myself. So
Yeah.
you're right. People can achieve anything as long as they believe in themselves. Your book, you wrote a book as well, correct? Let's talk about your book.
Okay,
Since
great.
we've been everywhere else.
Let's do it. So the book was, you know how they say, if you want a clean house, throw a party?
Yep.
So this is how the book came about. I was part of a summit about mindset shifting and productivity. And one of the things that was an agreement that I made to be part of the summit was to provide something of value as a gift for participating. And I didn't want it to be some throwaway listicle,
Okay.
kind of thing. I wanted it to be something of value. And so I looked into all the things that I've learned over the years. And what I realized is that saying your network is your net worth is really key to creating something as an entrepreneur. And so
Okay.
I decided to have the book be how to up your network and create yourself as an influencer inside of it and have more influencers in your network so that you can have more leads than you could ever call. So it's really about creating a network of referrals so that you never have to run out, and you'll always have more people you could talk to about your offering.
What does it boil down to? The one thing. I already know the answer, but what's it boil down
Ooh,
to?
tell me what you think it is.
Serving people.
Absolutely, that's exactly right.
Whether you get anything back or not, serving them as best you possibly can.
Definitely, for sure. For sure.
Sorry for being weird.
You're not being weird.
I apologize all the time. I was actually given crap for it the other day. When you write a book like that, what goes into it is you're trying to serve people more than anything else. So when you're trying to network, how do you actually start doing that? How do you implement that idea to serve people first?
I look to see what my network already has, and I sort of take inventory of the resources that are my absolute favorite. People that I would give a part of my reputation away. I would vouch for them. I would recommend them above the 5 stars. Like the people I'm the biggest fan of.
Mm-hmm.
So, making an inventory of the resources I have available to offer. And then I go into my network. I would assert that you probably have a ton of people that you have their phone numbers, you haven't talked to them in years. We all have that.
Thousands of people.
Thousands, right? So what if you were to go back and start calling those people and saying, hey, how's it going? This is the perfect time. What's going on for you? How are you dealing with this? How is this for your family? What are you dealing with? What are your challenges? Is there anything that you need? And I've been doing this, especially now. And, of course, the stories that we're hearing are things you couldn't even imagine. People that always land on their feet, having the rug pulled out from under them. And so there's now an opportunity for me to create a solution and to be of service. Yeah. And then, of course, it
doesn't have to be the full solution, right?
No.
It can be just something small, right?
Yes.
Anything is better than nothing. And
Absolutely.
It's so appreciated.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're absolutely right. That's a very good point. And then, of course, if I have people that I'm a huge raving fan of, you probably do as well. Yeah. So I also want to know, who are you a huge fan of, and would you be willing to connect me, because I am growing my network. And now I'm leveling up my influencers that I'm connected to by making connections, creating relationships, not because I'm trying to sell them anything, right? My agenda is fully of service. And this is what's kind of like a paradigm shift for most people. Most people, they have an agenda. I was having a conversation with a bunch of entrepreneurs the other day, and they said, how can I possibly grow my business right now? I feel like a predator. because people are so anxious and stressed and worried. And my answer was, well, are you showing up to help them, or are you showing up to take advantage of them with an agenda? Because it's who you're being. It's back to that who you're being conversation. So if we show up completely of service, it'll come back to us tenfold. We've probably heard that, cliche before.
Yep.
This is right inside of that. Be of service first.
It's part of my motto for years. I'm not a very social person, so I don't talk to a lot of people. But when COVID happened, I thought, crap, there's people that have been locked up for 30 days. I started this on the 12th of April because we'd been closed down for about 12 days. And I thought, there's people that are locked up in their house. They're literally in solitary confinement in the old folks' homes and things like that, where people are coming to them once a day or twice a day and giving them food. And that's all they see people for a whole 3 minutes. And the whole point of the show was, okay, Grandma, your family can't come see you. I'm going to give you a conversation with two people that you can't necessarily be part of, but at least you're seeing real human beings talk to each other versus all the crap the media is showing you.
I love that. Yeah.
So if this show ever goes anywhere, good for it. I really don't care. But if I serve somebody by it, that's the whole point. And I think that speaks to what you do as well and what you're teaching entrepreneurs to. The money will come.
Yes.
It will. Yes. And here's the thing about money. Money is limitless. There is no actual thing called money. It does not freaking exist.
It is an unlimited resource.
Yeah. The only thing we truly have is social capital. Realistically, and I don't mean social media capital. I mean you and me meeting on the street, shaking hands, giving each other a hug if you're a hugger, because I am, and being human beings to each other, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Before we end off, we have 3 minutes left in the interview.
Okay.
Plug all your crap. No, just kidding. Just plug your stuff.
I'm an entrepreneur. I will plug as much as you let me.
Go ahead, plug whatever you got.
Well, we've already talked about, a lot of it. I'll give a plug to Hudson Valley Improv. That's where I've done all my improv training as well as all my shows. I was I was co-creator and director for this really cool show called Larger Than Life. It's a take on other things, but it's where we interview somebody of a real story. And then we do an improv show around it. I mean, it is just amazing and completely ridiculous. So I'm hoping to bring that back into the world sometime in the near future. But, I've been working really hard right now, Zooming a lot, helping entrepreneurs, both with coaching or podcasting. A lot of people are starting podcasts right now, getting out of their own heads, right? Because not everyone is as comfortable in front of a microphone and having a conversation as you are. That can actually take something for you to be able to create that.
It's scary, right?
Yeah.
The only reason I'm comfortable is because I've been doing entertainment for years, right? You stand in front of 2,500 people and all of a sudden most fears go away.
That's right. That's absolutely right. I'll also share that I'm currently building a team of entrepreneurs through my online business. We have an online franchise where we help people get products sent to their home. You can create a really nice home income part-time doing that. So I've been spending a lot of time doing that as well. But everything is available through my website at iwokeupawesome.com, including the podcast, which I'm having a blast doing. I started it sort of as a curiosity because I thought there's probably more to just the thing on your plate than what I think it is. Yeah. And I kind of get a window into the human condition through that particular doorway. So it's so fun. And it runs the gambit. I mean, some people it's really vulnerable. Some people it's really fun. Some it's a combination, but it's always just humans. And that you can't always tell who a person is just by the car they drive and their license plate. We can get to know them a little better. But I'm just having a blast. And if anybody wants to come and play in the, fun stuff I'm up to, they're welcome to.
That's awesome. The one thing you didn't mention was actually your stuff down below that's scrolling, pl8story.com. plate story.
Plate story. That's right. I love
Okay.
when you're. Yeah, that's the license plate podcast.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
And everybody, we are all done. I want to thank you, Trista,
Thank you.
for coming on. This was, like I said, it was going to be stupid. It was kind of stupid, but
I think it was good. Good, stupid.
Well, I think the point of the podcast is just to have a conversation about making people's lives better, right?
Yeah.
So I hope we've done that. Everybody who watches, go check out Trista's stuff. And Trista, we end in one way. Oh, I didn't ask you. What's one thing that you've done for yourself today? Not anybody else, but yourself, to make yourself happy.
I went out and took video of the 2 snakes hanging out in my yard. That was very cool for me.
I hope it's not a euphemism. Anyway,
it's not.
Anyway,
And Steven.
Yep. Sorry. I need you to wave bye and we'll end the broadcast.